Hello, and welcome to 5-Year Club video number 194. And it's a busy time here at the 5-Year Club. You can see we have fancy cats in the house. They demand constant attention. I've been stressed out a little bit recently. And what I realized is that, the stress, it comes from kind of nowhere. Or things that are fundamentally should be fun and good are instead a source of stress. And I don't let it interfere with me too much. But it kind of amazes me how even when things are so good, your brain will invent something to cause some kind of stress. And I think it's important to realize when you're thinking about something that's stressing you out, how relatively good you've got it if you're just watching this video, if you just have access to YouTube, if you're looking at a screen that's high definition enough to see the details of, this Japanese art that I took a picture of with my phone because I figured it would be more interesting than looking at the text. And I guess for me, viewing things from that angle, when I realize how kind of the baseline is so great, it really diminishes what I think of the stressful things. I'm just like, oh, those are actually not important at all. And my cat's meowing at me. All right. Tonight we are going to read, I think it's a relatively short one, but it is story 4 of book 2. It is called The Demon with a Windflower Crest. And I haven't read it yet, so please suffer with me through these awkward English pronunciations of Japanese formal nouns. As limitless as the seas are the accomplishments of the men of Japan. As limitless as the seas are the accomplishments of the men of Japan. There is even an amusing story that the poet Po Chui of China, a land where art comes before earning a living, took fright and fled from our country when he observed the natives' skill in versification. Chinese verse is strange and remote. Japanese songs like Yokote Bushi are more to our taste. And if you want to know where the Yokote Bushi comes from, it is a song sung by the women and children of Taiji Village, a large harbor in Ki province. All right, that's kind of a dig at the Chinese there. Not sure what that's about, but I guess even 333 years ago, Japan had beef with China. Fair enough. Taiji is a prosperous place, and its people render thanks at a shrine amid a grove of young pines, the shrine of Whale Ibisu. The gateway, some 30 feet high, is constructed from the skeletons of whales, and if your curiosity should be aroused by this unusual sight, and you should question a local inhabitant, he will tell you the story of Demon Genai, a skilled harpoon master in the whaling industry of this shore. Genai enjoyed a reputation as a bringer of good luck, and every year in the old days, whenever fleets of whaling boats were fitted out, his services were in demand. Once a huge spout of water was seen rising near the coast, like a summer thundercloud, and when the whalers set off in pursuit, their very first harpoon struck home. Once more it was Genai who had aimed it, as everyone knew when his windflower crest was hoisted in each boat. Singing together in lusty songs which drowned the roar of the waves, taking their time from drum, gong, and flute, the fishermen tied the whale to a stout hawser wound around a winch and hauled it to the shore. 33 fathoms, 2 feet 6 inches in length, it was a monstrous whale of the type called simi, whose equal had never been seen before. Prosperity came to 7 villages at one stroke, and endless billows of smoke rose from the furnaces. When the oil was extracted, 1,000 barrels would not hold it, and, with not a scrap of flesh, nor hide, nor fin to be thrown away, This one whale was enough to make a man a millionaire. Its blubber and meat, sliced and heaped, presented a rare spectacle, bringing snow-capped Fuji and maple-covered Tokyo to that mountainless shore. I think that's kind of a nice thing to say. Its blubber and meat, sliced and heaped, presented a rare spectacle. Your blubber and meat, sliced and heaped, presents a rare spectacle. That's a good line to use on someone someday. Even the bones, which were usually discarded, were solicited on this occasion by Genai, who crushed them and produced yet more oil. The profits from this exceeded everyone's expectations, and he became a rich man. It was a method which might have meant a great deal to the smaller fishermen, and it was strange that no one had thought of it until now. In recent years, thanks to an invention of Genai's, whale nets have been devised. In recent years, thanks also to an invention of Genai's, whale nets have been devised, so that once a whale is spotted, it has little chance of escape, and these nets have now come into use on every coast. At first, Genai had dwelt in a thatched hut on the beach, but now he built for himself a long-roofed mansion of cedar wood, and in addition to employing more than 200 fishermen, he owned about 80 whaling boats. His luck never failed him, and at length the gold and silver sighed beneath its own weight in his strong rooms, and no matter how much of it he spent, it grew no less. When a man's fortune is as firmly rooted as this, we say that he is as sound as a camphor tree. That's another nice line from this book. I want to be as sound as a camphor tree. Are you as sound as a camphor tree? Maybe you could have like a camphor tree bank account. It's like that's what you call your emergency fund, the camphor tree. And then here in the book we have the illustration that you can see right there. In faith, they say, there is profit, and Genai was most scrupulous in his services to the Buddha and worship of the gods. He held the shrine at Nishi no Maya in particular esteem, and every year, at the feast of Ebisu on the 10th of the first moon, he was the first to arrive there and pay his respects. One year, however, having lost all track of time while drinking to celebrate the annual binding of the account books, dawn had already broken before he finally got his 20-oared cutter underway. He was anxiously wondering how this unusually late arrival would affect his future prospects when his trusted servant, Fukudayu, who was this year's master of ceremonies, addressed the company as follows, with an air of mock gravity. For 20 years now, he said, the master has paid his respects to Ebisu in the morning. This year he will not arrive until after lighting up time. It signifies, perhaps, that a shower of sparks as large as lanterns will overwhelm his household. This unexpected sally put Genai in an even uglier mood, and he placed his hand to his dagger. But he checked himself, reflecting that a hasty action now would only aggravate matters. The more lanterns the better, he said, especially in dark nights before spring, picking your way through a maze of bills. He stretched his limbs, controlled his temper, and forced a smile. Soon the speedy boat touched on the beach at Hiroto, and Genai proceeded to the shrine in a more restful state of mind. But the pine-fringed beach had a deserted air, and the lamp before the shrine was burning low. Observing that everyone he met was going home and he alone was coming, his apprehensions returned. Approaching the main shrine, he requested a performance of ritual dance, but the attendants, who were squatting in a circle and had already started to string together the day's takings, each tried to pass him on to someone else. Eventually, no more than a solitary drum was tapped as the girl danced, and she too, after running through her performance in a slipshod haste, finally contrived to jingle the bells over his head from a distance. God or no God, Genai was rather angry, and after a cursory round of the lesser shrines, he once more boarded his boat, where, without bothering to remove his carefully pressed overskirts, he immediately dropped off to sleep, lulled by the waves. Behind him came Ebisu, mindless of whether his hat stayed on or fell off, such was his haste. He pulled back his sleeves, augustly securing them with a bright ribbon, and transferred himself at one leap from the point of a rock into the boat. "Dear, dear!" he exclaimed, miraculously giving voice. "Such a fine idea had struck me, but I forgot to mention it. While I was in the humor, I intended to offer this splendid tip to each of the fishermen. But people nowadays are in such a hurry. They say their say and are gone in a flash. They say their say and are gone in a flash. I have no time to explain anything to them. But you have come after all the rest, and you are in luck." He bent close to the lobe of Ganai's ear and whispered, "There is a way of transporting sea bream in floating tanks, alive and fresh, to any destination at the Uejima or any other season. When a fish is weakening, prick its stomach, and the trick being to insert your sharpened bamboo about 3 inches from the tail. The fish revives and frisks about at once. First aid for sea bream is a novel idea, don't you think?" At this point, Ganai awoke from his dream. Amazing, he thought. A most unusual method. When he tried out the god's suggestion, it was as predicted. Not a fish was lost. Here again he made handsome profits, and ever after his ships bowled along on a tide of luck, with sails full spread to seasonable trade winds. Okay. Well, what does that story mean? All right, what does the story mean? Let's go think about it some. I can tell you what I took about it. So the demon with a windflower crest. So the demon, I guess, is Ganai. Not sure why they refer to him as a demon here. Maybe they refer to him as a demon because he's so effective at killing whales. But a demon kind of has a negative connotation. And it seems like the story celebrates this guy as being successful. And he's successful even at the end of the story. So it's not like he did something wrong and was punished. What he did do in the story is, even though he was late, and even though, he didn't get the ceremony that he wanted at the temple, he still didn't lash out at anybody, and he still kept going and doing what he thought was right, even if he was late and things weren't going the way that he wanted them to. So, I don't know, maybe this story is kind of like a story like Keep Going. Like, when problems come up and things aren't quite going your way, be mindful if you get angry or frustrated about it, but don't act on that anger or frustration, and just keep doing the next thing on the list of what you know is right and what you've planned for. And then maybe when you're asleep, a god will whisper in your ear a way to prick a fish's stomach to keep it alive for longer to make you wealthy. That's what I get from this story. Let's see what I dream about tonight. All right, that's it for 5-Year Club video number 194. And the story again was The Demon with a Windflower Crest. Hope you enjoyed some of that beautiful Japanese art, and have a fabulous evening.